Voice, Your Life. This is a production that should have gone up in March, but due to the circumstances that we're all aware of, we had to suspend production. And quite frankly, we didn't think we were going to resume it. But as time went on and we began to see how many things are done virtually and how creative and brilliant they can be, and with the urging of my director, Sheba Haley, we decided to go virtual. So this, though it's different, it's very, very unique, and I think it's really a great experience, and even better in some ways, because the kids get a chance to have the experience of doing something in front of a camera, one-on-one, and we will be able to show this all over the country on many, many different kind of platforms that we probably would not have done, that we have never done in our normal one, where we have a live audience at the ARC and at the Kennedy Center. And so we have our partners here, the ARC that's recording it for us. We have the Washington Performing Arts, who are singing and performing and partnering with us. We have the Washington, D.C. Commission on Arts and Humanities that have financed this project. Then, of course, our great all-time partners, the Department of Parks and Recs. So between all of those entities, we're going to bring you a fabulous show. Thank you.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
I still hear people shouting those words even in my sleep. I still see the people marching, and I've seen so much anger and so many tears since they killed another black man in the streets unjustly. His name was George Floyd. And I'm not too young to know that it isn't fair and it isn't right. And there will be no peace if there is no justice for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Tanisha Anderson, Philando Castile, and the list goes on. We must fight. We have to make sure if you are old enough to vote, you will practice that right. Please vote. Make the right choice, because your life depends on it, and so does mine, and his, and hers, and his, and hers.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stand. Oh, but when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being haunted as prey. My people don't want no trouble. We've had enough struggle. I just want to live.
Spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties. Over the fruited plain,
Jesse Jackson, running for the Democratic nomination in 1984, addresses a crowd at Tindley Baptist Church in Philadelphia.
You got a chance and you got a choice. You want somebody who march for you to get the right to vote. You got a choice. You want somebody who challenge corporate America to hire and give you contracts. You got a choice. It's choice time. Yeah, it's time for a new course, a new coalition, a new leadership. Red, yellow, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Somebody gotta rise above race, rise above sex, a new leadership, a choice, a chance. Don't cry about what you don't have. Use what you got. Reagan won the last time not by genius. Reagan won while we were asleep. He won by the margin of despair. He won by the margin, the fracture of our coalition. He won by the margin of racial division. He won by default. I close with another story of a little shepherd boy named David. Everybody in town was scared of Goliath. Little David. Little David. Little David. Took off his unnecessary garments. Little David didn't want to get weighted down with a lot of foolishness. Little David took what God gave him, a slingshot and a God biscuit, a rock. Our problem today is that, David, what we need to organize a win. Because we're going to stop the rocks just lying around and pick them up. In 1980, Reagan won Massachusetts by 2,500 votes. More than 100,000 students unregistered. Over 50,000 blacks. Over 50,000 Hispanics. He won by 2,500. Ted's Kennedy State. Rocks. Just laying around. He won Illinois by 300,000 votes. 800,000 unregistered blacks. 500,000 Hispanics. Rocks. Just laying around. He won. In 1980, 3 million high school students unregistered to vote. Now they've registered to draft. Rocks still laying around. 11 million college students who could have chosen jobs over jails, peace over war, they didn't vote. Now they crying. Rocks just laying around. Reagan won 8 southern states by 182,000 votes. When there were 3 million unregistered blacks in those same 8 states. Rocks just laying around. He won New York by 165,000 votes. More than 600,000 students unregistered. 900,000 blacks. 600,000 Hispanics. Rocks just laying around. In 1980, Reagan won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes. 400,000 students unregistered. More than 600,000 blacks unregistered. Reagan won Pennsylvania by the margin of despair. By the margin of the fracture of our coalition. Rocks just laying around. Vote your choice. Stop being rocks just laying around. Your time has come.
Pick up your
slingshot.
Pick up
Pick
your
up your
rock.
rock. Declare our time has come.
come.
A new day has begun. Red, yellow, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Our time has come.
I'm hyped for the 2020 presidential election. Why? Because it'll be the first time that I'm able to vote. That speech delivered from Reverend Jesse Jackson during his 1984 presidential campaign is epic. It's still relevant today, and it was delivered nearly 19 years before I was even born. See, I'll be 18 in October, and now I can be a part of the process. I can't tell you how long I've waited to exercise this right. The right that my ancestors made possible for me and for you. My grandmother has taken me to the polls with her for years, and I'm proud to say that I've watched, listened, and dreamed of this day for me. So it's coming. November 3rd. I'm here to get you ready, to make sure you don't slack, to educate you, and to get you hyped. Because it's your right, people. Vote. It's your choice. It's your life. So now, me and my homie Caleb are going to break it down. Check out this video we ran across from Yellow Pen.
So now I'm finna break it down, cause if I don't, you would probably never know. First thing first, you know back in middle school when they taught us, it was 3 branches of the government. We forgot it when we got older. It's the judicial, the legislative, and executive. But all we know is the executive. That's the mayor, or the governor, and the president. Now none of them 3 people make no laws, they just be checking them. The laws come to their desk and all they do is say no or yes to it. So when the news station tried to tell us that Barack Obama couldn't put us on, we was all salty at Obama when it was the Congress members all along.
Okay, that's cool, but let's go back, way back, and look at voting history in America. You see, in 1776, only white men, 21 and over that owns land, could vote. So that means free black men and women were not allowed to vote. But in 1870, the 15th Amendment was passed, 5 years after the Civil War and the abolishment of slavery. It states, the right of every citizen in the United States to vote shall not be denied by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous conditions of servitude.
So, does that mean black folks were able to vote in 1870?
Man, hold up, man, nah. The states didn't abide by that amendment. They did their own thing. They blocked black voters, threatened black voters. They even killed blacks attempting to vote. But it's a good thing we have people like Sojourner Truth and Frederick Douglass, who knew the only way black people will be truly free is the right to vote. But I believe they will be a little disappointed with the apathy and the indifference of voters today.
After gaining freedom from slavery, I could not just stop there. I fought for the freedom of all blacks, particularly in the South. In my newspaper, the North Star pushed for the opportunity for all black men and women to be counted and equal after the bloodshed of the Civil War. I believed that no class of men, without insulting their own nature, be content with any deprivation to their right. By depriving us of suffrage, you affirm our incapacity to form intelligent judgment respecting public men and public measures. You declare before the world that we are unfit to exercise the elective franchise, and by this means leads us to undervalue ourselves, to put a low estimate upon ourselves, to feel like we have no possibilities like other men. I want the elective franchise, and I support universal suffrage, voting rights for all black men and all women. The 15th Amendment gave all black men the right to vote, but women were not included. That's why I could not stop there, because my dear friend Susan B. Anthony and many others stayed in the fight, and I joined them.
We'll have our rights. See if we don't. And you can't stop us from them. See if you can. There's a great stir about colored men getting their rights, but not a word about colored women. And if colored men get their rights and not colored women theirs, the colored men will be masters over the women, and it'll be just as bad as before. So I'm for keeping things going while things are stirring. We want to move the point to one particular thing, and that is women's rights. For nobody has any business with a right that belongs to her. I can make use of my own right. We want the same use of the same rights. After all, ain't I a woman? Look at me. Look at my arms. I've plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could heed me. And ain't I a woman? I could work as much and eat as much as any man when I could get it, and bear the lash as well. And ain't I a woman? I born 13 children and seen most all sold off to slavery. And when I cried out with my mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me. And ain't I a woman? They talk about this thing in the head. What's they call it?
Intellect.
That's it. What's that have to do with women's rights and Negroes' rights? If my cup won't hold but a pint and yours a quart, wouldn't you be mean to not give me my little half measure full? If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn this world upside down all alone, these women ought to be able to turn it back and right side up again. Now they asking to do it. The men better let them. I never gave up. I even tried to vote for Ulysses S. Grant in the 1872 presidential election, but got turned away at the polling booth. No, we won't stop fighting for our rights, especially our right to vote.
Stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home, far across the river. Can you hear freedom calling, calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones.
Wow. So that leads us to the 19th Amendment, which is now 100 years old, giving women, well, not all women, the right to vote. Which, by the way, was not signed till the 1920s, 50 years after Sojourner Truth died. Man, it was a long, hard fight to get this amendment passed, and black women from the 18th and 19th century, including Sojourner Truth, Mary Church Terrell, and Ida B. Wells, fought for women's rights in spite of how they was being treated by the suffrage movement key players.
My name is Ida B. Wells, and I founded the Alpha Suffrage Club in Chicago, Illinois, January 30th, 1913. With the help of my white colleagues, Belle Squire and Virginia Brooks. The club gave a voice to colored women who had been excluded from national suffrage organizations, such as the National American Women's Suffrage Association. The club's purpose was to inform Negro women of their civic responsibility and to organize them to help elect candidates who would best serve the interests of Negroes in Chicago. We believed Negro women should use our vote for the advantage of ourselves and our race. The purpose of the Alpha Suffrage Club was to make women strong enough to help elect some conscientious raceman and to encourage black women to ensure that their husbands were taking seriously their responsibility to vote as well. Since they had that right, it was indeed a sacred right. The Women's Suffrage Parade of 1913 legitimized the women's suffrage movement as a whole. The Alpha Suffrage Club and its protest against being forced to march in the back brought a spotlight to the fact that racism was also an issue, even within an otherwise united movement. Didn't black women have as much right to vote as white women. On March 3rd, 1913, as 5,000 women prepared to parade to President Woodrow Wilson's inauguration, demanding the right to vote, I was being told I had to march in the back because marching with black women for the same cause made some Southern white women uncomfortable. So I waited on the side until the Illinois delegation passed. Then I joined in. 2 white women fell right into the line with me, and we marched together. I was never really embraced by the white suffrage movement, and although the 19th Amendment granting voting rights to all women, regardless of race, we did not win the right by marching together.
Man, it's some tough stuff to deal with, but this information fuels my desire to vote. So why don't they want us to vote? And when we don't vote, what are the consequences? What do we lose?
In 1972, I was ready and willing to take on President Richard Nixon as Democratic presidential nominee. However, as the first black person to seek the presidential nomination from one of the 2 major parties, I was not taken seriously by white male journalists and politicians. Actually, few politicians, black or white, believed I had entered the race. My strongest supporters were black women.
In 1972, I was elected the first black congresswoman ever from Texas, Barbara Jordan. I took the primary with 80% of the vote. In a general election against Republican Paul Merritt, I won 81% of the vote. So along with Andrew Young of Georgia, I became the first African American elected to Congress from the Deep South.
All of my opponents were white men, and the one who stood out the most was George Wallace, the former governor of Alabama, who famously called for segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
Now, I don't consider myself neither a black politician nor a woman politician. I'm just a politician, a professional politician.
On the other hand, my campaign theme was unbought and unbossed. The same slogan I used when I ran and became the first black U.S. Congresswoman in history as a representative of my New York district. I was beholden to no one, representing someone unbought and unbossed because of my principles and my fortitude, not because of my false bravado and money. I took my orders from the people. My duty was to give a voice to the disenfranchised.
But as a freshman member of the Judiciary Committee in the summer of 1974, as committee considered articles of impeachment against President Richard M. Nixon for crimes associated with the Watergate scandal, I delivered opening remarks to the committee, a speech that made everyone listen. My message? My faith in the Constitution is whole. It is complete. It is total. I am not going to sit here and not a spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution. I gave my reasons for supporting the 5 articles of impeachment against President Nixon. In conclusion, if my fellow committee members do not find this evidence compelling enough, then perhaps the 18th century Constitution should be abandoned and put into a 20th century paper shredder.
When I ran for president, I met more discrimination as a woman than for being black. But although I did not win my nomination, my candidacy opened the door for other black and female candidates to run for president. I just wanted to show that it could be done. Shirley Chisholm, unbought and unbossed. Tony Campbell, President and CEO of the National Coalition on Black Civic Participation and convener of the Black Women's Roundtable Public Policy Network. I have fought for civil, youth, and women's rights for over 20 years, and I won't stop fighting. Yes, I just dropped by to tell you, it's movement time.
I am Muriel Bowser, Mayor of Washington, D.C., and I am proud to be the mayor of my hometown. And I am in this fight for Washington, D.C. to be admitted as the 51st state of the United States of America. But we are also in a fight for our lives against a health pandemic that has taken this country on by storm. Not to be outdone by a social justice movement that takes on a racial pandemic that plagues America.
Again, it's movement time. Each generation is faced with a movement moment that requires them to stand up and fight back against injustice with great strength and fortitude.
Yes, we are optimistic that we will be the 51st state soon. And I thank our relentless, hardworking Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has championed equality for D.C. her entire tenure, while skillfully delivering jobs, opportunity, and greater self-determination.
From the Montgomery bus boycott to occupying the Florida State Capitol by the Dream Defenders, it has taken the collective power of the people demanding justice to protect our civil rights, workers' rights, women's rights, immigrant rights, LGBTQ rights, and human rights of African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, poor Americans, Americans' children, and the world family, the beloved community.
I'm also optimistic and proud of how we have weathered the storm during this pandemic. Citizens of Washington, D.C. have been doing the right thing, and we are dropping the numbers of infected persons and deaths from this horrible disease. And we are proud that Washington, D.C. realizes that Black lives matter, that our Black citizens deserve to be treated fairly by the police while driving, walking, working, and serving this country.
Yes, I just stopped by to tell you, it's movement time. And we are in the middle of a movement right now, a resurgence of Black Lives Matter. But this time, we have allies that are standing with us now more than ever before. This movement will not stop until justice is won. And the key to this movement is voting. So yes, I just stopped by to tell you, it's movement time. Again, vote. It's your choice. It's your life.
I renamed Broad Street in D.C. to Black Lives Matter Plaza in honor of the protests that have gripped this city for so many weeks. And because it is time to recognize and pay homage to those who have senselessly lost their lives. We will survive these pandemics, and we will be better citizens for all we've been through together. But remember, we must all vote. It is the single most important thing we can do as citizens today. I am just one woman leader among so many who have fought for the rights of the people, and I stand by the citizens of Washington, D.C.
Years ago, I stood before a judge for the first time, breathed deep, and uttered the phrase that would guide the rest of my career. Kamala Harris for the people.
When I ran for president of the United States almost 4 years ago, my platform was Stronger Together. And I am still energized by all of you who went out and voted. Because you know how important your voice is, and I hope you know your right to vote is in jeopardy.
The people. That's who I represented as district attorney in San Francisco, California, fighting on behalf of victims who needed help. The people. That's who I fought for as California's attorney general. And it's the people that I fought for as U.S. Senator since 2017. Now, I'm incredibly honored to be named Vice President on the ticket with Joe Biden, as he takes his place in the ongoing story on America's march, fighting towards equality and justice, as the only one who served alongside the first black president and a candidate who's chosen the first black woman as his running mate.
You know, I was a senior in high school when I watched on a black and white television as President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the 1965 Voting Rights Act. And 55 years later, the Voting Rights Act, the country's most important civil rights law, has been gutted by the Supreme Court. And voting rights are under attack across the country, with the introduction of voting restrictions across 49 states.
I was born in Oakland, California, to an immigrant father from Jamaica and an immigrant mother from India, who fell in love after meeting at the University of California, Berkeley. They married while still in graduate school and were intensely involved in the civil rights movement. That's how I began my start on my journey to justice. I'm a proud graduate of Howard University and the University of California, Hastings College of Law, and became the second African American woman and the first South Asian American woman to be in the United States Senate. But now I'm ready to get to work on this campaign as I think about all the heroic and ambitious black women before me whose sacrifice, determination, and resilience makes my presence here today even possible.
You see, what's happening is a sweeping effort to disempower and disenfranchise people of color, poor people, and young people from one end of our country to the other.
I'm talking about black women who ran for president at a time when it wasn't popular or even accepted at all. Women like Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan, Lenore Fulani, Carol Mosley Braun, Dr. Isabel Masters. The list goes on. Courageous black women who wanted to lead our country. This is a real moment of consequence for America. Let's be clear. This election is about building our country back, better.
During my 2016 presidential campaign, I offered 3 major policy ideas for expanding voting rights. 1, automatically register voters. 2, expand early voting. And 3, restore the Voting Rights Act. My dear friend, Congressman John Lewis, who just recently passed, left a great legacy and a decisive call to action. Vote. All states must take concrete steps now so every citizen can be heard in November, no matter where we are by then in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. Congressman Lewis, he never stopped fighting. He has a restructured bill with the Senate now. We must honor his name and restore the Voting Rights Act and rename it the John Lewis Voting Rights Act.
So encouraging to see people of every age and color and creed coming together to declare in one voice that Black Lives Matter. A whole new generation of children from across the country growing up hearing the cries for justice and chants for hope on which I was raised. So to everyone who's fighting, keep up the fight. You're doing something. You are the new heroes of our time. And I know you're the reason we're going to bring our country come closer to realizing its promise. But to do it, we'll need to work, organize, and vote like never before.
As the First Lady nominated for president by a major political party, we worked hard to break the glass ceiling for women during this campaign, but fell short of the win. Not enough of us went to the polls. Did you know that 46.9% of Americans did not vote at all? Look, this can't be another woulda, coulda, shoulda election. We can't let this happen again, not at this time. Take it from me, Hillary Clinton. We need Americans to vote in every state for every election. Remember, Rosa Parks sat so Dr. King could walk. Dr. King walked so Barack Obama could run. Barack Obama ran so all the children could fly. And John Lewis put his life on the line over and over again for all of us. So please vote so we can make a real change.
Man, women got this thing together. Ever since they had the right to vote, they've been showing up and showing out. But what the brothers doing? What have we done, and what are we going to do to make a difference?
We will be sure. Oh, glory. 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 Whoa. Glory. Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against. Yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us.
We cannot rest. Laurels have not yet been earned. We must toil on during the hot, sweltering summer months. We must get our long-deprived people registered in the South's infamous Black Belt counties. Voting legislation does not put the names of Negroes on the voting list. We are not so naive as to believe the persons who have traditionally opposed to our right to vote will now desist from intimidating us. There must be a change. There will be a change. For to deny your person as political freedom at the polls is no less a dastardly act as to deny a Christian the right to petition God in prayer. Many frustrations of politically deprived people will surely be erased by SCLC's Summer Community Organization and Political Education Project, SCOPE. Through SCOPE, we will launch one of the most intensive attacks ever conceived to fight disenfranchisement, educational deprivation, and poverty. A vivid portrayal of the Negro disenfranchised is found in voter registration statistics of 3 Alabama Black Belt counties. Through the efforts of SCOPE and a strong voting rights bill, we are confident of breaking the shackles which have so long crippled the Negro's advancement in the South. Our battle cry is, let my people vote.
I am Congressman Elijah Cummings, and I don't give a darn how you look at it. There are efforts to stop people from voting. That's not right. This is not Russia. This is the United States of America. We are better than this. Sadly, we are still fighting for the right to vote for all Americans. There is still persistent voter discrimination that must be addressed. From longer voting lines for minorities to the racially motivated efforts to suppress the vote. As leader of the House Oversight Committee, my team launched an investigation into claims that several states had suppressed voters during the 2018 election. The first investigation was in Georgia after the governor's race, which was marred by allegations of voter suppression due to the purging of hundreds of thousands of voters, the closing of more than 200 polling places, long lines, and ballot problems on election day. we expanded our investigation into other states, including Kansas and Texas, which have been accused of attempting to purge naturalized citizens and moving polling places away from non-white voters. As civil rights and voting rights groups continue to fight against voting-related laws in states like Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas, congressional support is critical to their mission. Congress is the federal body with the power to fully restore the Voting Rights Act. And I will fight until the death to make sure every citizen, whether they're Freedom Party, whether they're Green Party, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican, has that right to vote. Because it is the essence of our democracy.
As a young John Lewis, I loved hearing the sermons of Dr. King. They were my inspiration and encouraged me to act on changes I wanted to see. In 1957, I helped to organize sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. I was arrested during these demonstrations, which upset my mother, who always said, "Don't get in trouble, don't get in the way." Well, I got in trouble and I got in the way, but it was necessary trouble. In 1961, I was one of the freedom rioters who challenged segregation at bus terminals in the South. It was dangerous work that resulted in arrests and beatings for me and many others in the movement. But I fought on and became chairman of SNCC, then part of the Big Six leaders organizing the March on Washington with Dr. King. After the march in 1964, the Civil Rights Act became law. But injustices continued. To bring attention to the struggle, I, along with Hosea Williams, led a march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama on Sunday, March 7th, 1965. On that day, we were attacked by state troopers. It was brutal. This time I was severely beaten and suffered a fractured skull. The attack on us marchers was so bad that this day became known as Bloody Sunday. I was so devastated by Dr. King's assassination and by the assassination of Robert Kennedy. But I had to press on, and my work led me to United States Congress, where I represented Georgia's 5th District beginning in 1986. I made it to 80 years old, and I commemorated the 55th anniversary of Bloody Sunday in March 2020 with yet another peaceful walk across that infamous Edmund Pettus Bridge into Selma, Alabama. During my final days, you fill me with hope about the next chapter of the great American story when you use your power to make a difference in our society. I saw millions of people motivated simply by human compassion lay down the burdens of division. And around the country and the world, you set aside race, class, age, language, and nationality to demand respect for human dignity. That is why I had to visit Black Lives Matter Plaza in Washington, D.C. with Mayor Bowser. Though I was admitted to the hospital the following day, I just had to see and feel it for myself that after many years of silent witness, the truth is still marching on. You cannot give up now. You cannot give in. You must keep the faith and keep your eyes on the prize. And you must go out and vote like you have never ever voted before.
Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we've got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Yeah.
If there's ever been an inspiration, I'm inspired and truly motivated by the life's work and legacy of Congressman John Lewis. He is so right. We can't give up or give in. We must continue to fight. I'm Desmond Meade, voting rights activist and the executive director of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Formerly homeless and suicidal and formerly incarcerated with a felony record. But as a returning citizen, I decided to change these patterns for the 1.4 million Floridians. I fought to graduate with my law degree and found out I can even vote for my wife, who is a candidate for the state's legislature. I became the president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition and led the charge to adopt a constitutional amendment to reenfranchise Floridians with felons, Amendment 4. Our work has led to gathering over 750,000 signatures to get Amendment 4 on the ballot last November, with 65% of voters voting yes to approve it. This is a testament of what we can do when we get up and vote. When I heard in recent news that Iowa's governor signed an executive order that ended its place as the only state to broadly deny convicted felons to vote, I was like, that's right. That's it. That's what it's all about. Because no matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, independent, or have no stance at all, I believe deep in the hearts of every American citizen is the want and the need to have a vibrant democracy.
Well, I'll say the brothers are equally young. How can we not vote when people are making such groundbreaking accomplishments? Amendments like number 4, which is an amendment to the Florida Constitution passed in 2018 as a part of Voting Rights Restorations for Felons initiatives, are crucial. And the reason I can vote this year is because of Amendment 26 to the United States Constitution, which lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. There was a big debate for years over the voting age, especially since the age for drafting to the war was 18. Young voting rights groups started a movement, and that movement slogan grew. Old enough to fight, old enough to vote.
Did you know, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, voters 18 to 24 were the only group to show a statistically significant increase in 2008, despite an overall increase of 5 million voters. So that means during the presidential election of Barack Obama, we saw a voter turnout of 49% of people 18 to 24 years old, the second highest in history. Man, we definitely got to do that again.
I know that's going to happen again this year. There's some woke and dedicated first-time young voters ready to express their frustration and views at the poll. Remember all those students from the high school in Parkland, Florida? Well, they've been organizing and galvanizing since the horrific shooting at their school in 2018. Many of those seniors are voting age now, just like me, and they are ready to vote for their lives.
We heard a round of extremely loud pops, and I had no idea what it was. I remember telling myself if I were to get shot anywhere, I wouldn't make it. I need to be behind something. The only thing in front of me was Nicholas Dorat, a fellow student. I told God I knew I was going to die. I asked him to please make it fast. I didn't want to feel anything. I asked for the bullet to go straight through my head so I wouldn't endure any pain. Like many of my brothers and sisters, I am not comforted by deputies with handguns, let alone assault rifles. I am very concerned since learning Brett Kavanaugh's views on guns and how he would strike down any assault weapon ban. If Kavanaugh doesn't have the decency to shake hands with the father of a victim, he definitely won't have the decency to make life-changing decisions that affect real people. If the youth across the country can fight to eradicate gun violence, why can't judges, lawmakers, and the president understand that young people are dying from the senseless gun violence? I can vote now and me and my friends will continue to march, fight, and now vote for our lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, the former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama.
When our children have to tell us what we need to do to protect them, when as adults we should inherently know what to do, then our country indeed is in turmoil. As the former First Lady of the United States, Barack and I made the excruciating visits too many times to console families who lost loved ones to gun violence. We advocated for gun control, but it was denied by the Congress because we didn't show up for midterm elections. Yes, you turned out and voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and proved once again that when we all vote, we can make a difference. But it's not enough just to vote for president every 4 years. We have to vote in every single election. But here's the problem. While some folks are frustrated and stay home on election day, trust me, other folks are showing up. Democracy continues, with or without you. The people who show up to vote will elect the sheriffs who will police our streets and the prosecutors who will pursue justice. They'll determine the mayors and the city council members who will decide to fix our crumbling roads. Or not. They'll determine who represents us in Congress and how much power each party controls over Washington. The only question is, are you going to let somebody else decide all of that for you? Are you going to give someone else that much control over your life? Because that's what you're doing when you don't vote. You're putting your future in the hands of others. There are so many organizations that have been put in place to help you vote, like Fair Fight 2020, spearheaded by Stacey Abrams, that is here to ensure that people know about the obstacles that have been placed in their way. More Than a Vote, started by LeBron James, to enlist the support of other athletes and entertainers, to raise their voices and use their platforms to get out the vote. And Still I Vote, launched by the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, supported by our many celebrity influencers. So no excuses. Hashtag when we all vote. Hashtag More Than a Vote. Hashtag Fair Fight 2020. Hashtag And Still I Vote. Hashtag Vote. It's gonna be okay.
Woke up to a world that is changing. Looking out the window got me wondering lately, will we be okay? Will we be okay? One day I can feel the sun shining. Next day a bullet can leave a mama crying. Will she be okay? Tell me, will we be okay? Life is taking everything that I have just to survive. I got $25 in my pocket, and I think another 10 in my glove compartment. I'm trying so bad not to cry, but it's hard to stop it. But you say I love my needs, you promise you got it. So I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. Okay, okay. See, I gotta remember that my God is bigger than any power I face. So I'm gonna be okay. Why do we hate one another when We'll trade places with you. Give thanks and don't forget how you got it. And you gon' make okay. We gon' be okay. Okay, okay. See, I gotta remember that my God is bigger than any battle I ever faced. So I'm gon' be okay. We gon' be okay. And you gon' be okay. I'm gon' be okay. Okay, okay.
I do believe we're going to be okay, but only if we all do our part. I've been listening to all this, and I'm ready to volunteer. Get on the phone to whatever it takes to get out the vote.
See, that's what it's all about. We want to encourage you. Look, I know we've been going through some scary times these last 6 months. It's time for a change.
So we hope we have inspired you by making sure you understand that there are consequences when we do and when we don't vote.
But first, we need to make sure you're registered so you know where to go to vote.
There are organizations like More Than a Vote, Fair Fight 2020, the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And when we all vote, here to make sure you get the right to vote. And be prepared to vote by mail. It is going to be necessary for some of us in order to stay healthy and be safe.
Listen, we have one more person who can break this down for you. She is best known for organizing the Women's March that started in 2017. She's responsible for bringing out millions of women around the world to stand up for women's rights. And today, she's standing on the front line of this new movement. From Minneapolis to Louisville, when Tamika Mallory speaks, I think we all should listen.
I know you're tired. I know you're frustrated. The system fails us over and over again. Even with the black president, we suffer. So why should you vote? It won't change a thing, right? Every election, we are reminded of those who've died just to give us the right to vote. And to some, that history is just that, history. But ask yourself why there's such an attempt to rob us of our voting rights. If it didn't matter, why do people spend millions of dollars to suppress your vote? I suspect the people in power don't want us black, brown, or poor folks to vote is because they know that if we really understood our collective power, they'd have none. But our vote isn't the only thing that they fear. What if we actually walked the halls of government and demanded things after the polls? Maybe what I'm saying still hasn't moved you. Maybe you can still hear the cries of Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Tamir Rice, and Maya Hall in your head. And now, once again, I can't breathe from the dying lips of Brother George Floyd, who was killed by the police in Minneapolis. Or maybe you just can't take another loss, so you'd rather stay home. Oh, how I feel what you feel. Then I would say to you, we must be voting for the wrong reason. We must ask ourselves whether we are Republican, Independent, or Democratic voters. Or are we revolutionary voters? Are we voting for candidates, or are we voting to get free? I'm on the front line again with the people as we peacefully protest for justice. Justice for George Floyd. Justice for Breonna Taylor, who was shot in her own home in Louisville, Kentucky. People all over America are now saying enough is enough. We are in a state of emergency. Black people are dying in a state of emergency. So, if you want us to do better, then America, you do better. Our vote must be tied less to candidate so-and-so and more to education, eradicating poverty, safer streets, healthier communities, and mental stability for every man, woman, and child. Our vote must be tied to the promise of America that we haven't fully received. Our vote must be tied to our freedom. Then and only then will you vote like the air that you breathe is at stake. Vote for your freedom. Vote for your life.
Thank you, Chef Chan.
Come on, everybody, get your head in the game.
Time to get together and make some real change.
We're gonna vote because it's alright. We're gonna vote to make our future bright. Come on, let's vote. Frederick Douglass to King and in between. Come on, let's vote. Make a choice. It's your life that's at stake. Come on, let's vote. For our freedom, please don't make a mistake. Come on, let's vote. For our freedom, make a real change. Come on, let's vote. Make your choice. It's your life that's at stake. Come on, let's vote. Come on, y'all. Y'all heard our call. Take a stand. Make your choice. Use your voice. When I say vote, you say my choice. Vote. My choice. Vote. My choice. When I say vote, you say my life. Vote. My life. Vote. My life. When I say vote, you say my choice. Vote. My choice. Vote. My choice. When I say vote, you say my life. Vote. My life. Vote. My life. Vote. My life. Vote. 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 Vote.
Vote.
It's your choice.
Vote.
It's your life.
Vote.
You heard? Vote.
It's your life. It's your choice. You heard?
Hello, my name is Reggie Van Lee, and I have the pleasure of serving as executive producer of Blacks in Wax. I've had that pleasure for many, many years, and year after year, the productions get better and better and better. It's an amazing program, and I'm so proud of and happy for the young people that make this so special. And I want to thank the directors, the writers, the makeup people, and all the other artists and participants that helped to make Blacks in Wax such an amazing production. And we wouldn't have this program if it wasn't for some of our very supportive supporters. The DC Department of Recreations, the Washington Performing Arts, the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities, and the ARC. Thank you to all of our partners. Thank you again, and congratulations to the young people. Blacks in Wax is an amazing program, and Black Lives Matter. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef Chan.
Make your choice. It's your life that's at stake. Come on, let's vote. For your freedom, please don't make the mistake. Come on, let's vote. Stay at home. Make a real change. Come on, let's vote. Make your choice. It's your life that's at stake. Come on, let's vote. Come on, let's vote. Make your choice. It's your life that's at stake. Come on, let's rock the vote, brothers, rock the vote, sisters, rock the vote, brothers, rock the vote.
When I say vote, you say my choice, vote.
My choice.
Vote.
My choice.
When I say vote, you say my life, vote.
My life.
Vote.
My life.
Vote.
My life. Rock the boat, let's rock the boat, sisters. Rock the boat, let's rock the boat, brothers. Rock the boat. Rock the boat, rock the boat, rock the boat. Rock the boat, rock the boat.